Welcome to Bear Dolan Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Bear, and I got a special guest today. My first guest ever, my wife, Morgan. Hi, Morgan.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. So how about that Packer game the other night?
Oh my god. It was great.
It was great. They lost.
Oh yeah, wait, that's the wrong one. I was thinking of the one before
The
where
Dallas won.
yeah, when they won.
No, the Packers had that damn game. They had that game. They had less slips from the rain than what the 49ers did. That they played their ass off. There's that damn kicker. But I heard they fired the defense coordinator.
Who is the
I forgot his name. Joe Barry.
Oh.
No tough loss. I mean, he later on, I think he got the guys in a groove, but I think it's more so the players than the coach. But it's time for a change.
Did they just fire him?
Yeah, I seen the report this morning. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. But it is what it is.
Mm.
So anyway, you know how since we first met, I've just been a big hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, I want to say religious at this, but it is what it is. I think I hear our daughter crying, but she'll be okay. Is that our daughter crying? You hear that?
Yeah.
She's just getting up for a nap. She'll be okay. I'll probably just have her turn on cartoons or something. But so you know how religious I am in hunting and how passionate I am.
Yeah.
And for the past 2 years, I just came up empty.
Yeah.
And, I want to get your point of views on because we're going to talk about boomers in the beginning here. And, I'm a millennial and you're a Gen Z. So I want to get your take on this and more on your generation than what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the reports I've been seeing that in the past 23 years ago, there were 700,000 hunters, and they're down to 600,000 hunters. Yeah. And that was just a report this past year. The DNR is expecting there'll be a 2% drop on hunters each year. Do you know why?
Well, I think it's mostly that my generation doesn't really want to go out hunting. There's a lot of, at least where I went to school, there's a lot of hunters in my school, but I grew up in the country. But the ones now, a lot of people are growing up in cities and they're not really growing up around countries and like the countryside. So they're not really into the hunting. It's not really carrying on into my generation a lot.
Right.
Because people are not really passing it down to their kids, or their kids are just too involved in like social media or into like, electronics. They're not going to want to go out and into the woods and go shoot a deer, because my generation is starting to look at guns as like a threat because of a lot of the bad stuff that's happening with guns, with people using guns, like
shoot up schools and shit.
Yeah, in the school shootings, because people are getting their hands on guns and they don't know how to use them, and they're using them for ill intent.
Instead of using responsibility.
Yeah, because back in the day, people used to bring their guns to school.
Right.
Like, kids used to have their guns in the back of their cars and go hunting before they went to school, and maybe after they went to school, or after school. But now guns are getting used by people in bad ways.
Right.
They're starting to, like the schools and stuff, they're just not getting used in the proper ways anymore.
Yeah, but do you think that's just more so of a mental illness?
Yeah, I think mental illness is becoming more prominent in people because of social media. I believe that people aren't connecting with other people anymore. They're just kind of on their phones, and the internet is a cruel place. It is a harsh place And now kids are getting exposed to that a lot sooner than they should because they don't have the right tools to be able to cope with negativity on the internet.
Right.
Because, like, back in the day, you didn't have that outlet to be able to see what's happening in other countries other than in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So now people are able to see some of the stuff that's happening outside of it a lot faster and a lot quicker. So people are able to see a lot of the negative stuff that's happening all over the world.
And you
a lot
only,
more.
when during watching the news, you only get maybe twice a day hearing something that's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you usually hear about it, during dinner time or before bedtime. So you have all day to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Then this, compared to social media, you're on it 24/7 at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to how kids in your generation don't want to hunt, at the beginning I thought maybe it was just pure laziness. But, my generation and part of your generation, we're having kids later on in our lives.
Yeah.
And, you got the traditional hunters, especially in Wisconsin, you got the baby boomers. They're getting older, they're dying off. So either they can't go out and bring a kid out and show them the nature, or they're just dying off and having kids later on. In our generation, having kids later on, the boomers are not going to be there to pass that on. So either they got to learn on their own, or they're going to have to find someone they can rely on to teach them.
And it's hard to learn hunting on your own because you have to go out and find that piece of land to hunt on.
And it's not like back in the day you can just go knock on someone's door and say, hey, can I hunt here? And if I get something, I share the meat with you, or I paint a fence, or, you do some chores around there just to pay a debt.
Yeah, because the people aren't as social as they used to be.
Right.
So people are, like, especially me, like, I wouldn't even think about going up to someone's door and asking to hunt on their land because that just seems like outlandish.
Right.
It seems way too personal, kind of, to just go up to someone's house and knock on the door, because we don't have that anymore.
Right.
We don't have that connection to where back in the day where you could ask your neighbors to watch your children.
Right.
And it'd be fine. Like, nowadays, everyone's so closed off and we're not open anymore.
Yeah.
I think it all wraps into just how society has changed. Like with hunting and the population and all that, and just everything is changing, and it's not changing for the good.
No, definitely not. Like a platform like to put your podcast or music on, or get some really good information is good, but there also comes with consequences. I mean, and going back to your generation not wanting to go out and do a lot more stuff and go out and thrive, that decreases on hunters and stuff. So you would imagine less hunting, more deer, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many times we driven on a back road in the past couple of years? We haven't really seen anything. We used to just drive around just for the shit and just see herds of deer on the field.
Yeah, I grew up just seeing deer everywhere. Like, I can't even count on both my hands how many deer that we've almost hit growing up. Like, there's so many times where we had to slam on the brakes because there's a deer crossing, and now it's like it barely even happens.
And remember that first time I took you hunting, and how many deer did we see that day? 3? That just for that first couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I go out and I can't find shit. If I really want to go out and get one, I have to go deep in the woods. I would have to get up really early, extra early to even do that, and make sure I have time off from work where I can just, keep going and make a whole day of, scouting and stuff.
Yeah.
And, do you agree with the legislation? They want to put a ban on killing doe or not killing any doe or antlerless deer?
See, I don't know because if the deer population is going down, then that means that something's killing them. Like something is happening with the deer.
Right.
So I can kind of see why they would want to do that to try to make the population go higher.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also saying that the number of hunters are going down, that there isn't as many hunters. So who's killing the deer?
Right. It's been proven that they've been dropping off wolves everywhere in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I think there was a bill that was passed to do that because wolves are going extinct. I guess I don't want to say extinct. The numbers of wolves are just down.
There's definitely wolves because when I was younger, my grandparents have 40 acres of land, and when I was younger, my grandparents had a bunch of cattle on that land. They had a bunch of cows, and they never really experienced any of their cows getting killed or anything. And then they had horses. After they stopped having cows, they had horses, and those horses used to run around those pens. And then after they got rid of the horses, around that time between having the cows and the horses, me and my uncle would just go walk around back there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be completely fine. We wouldn't be scared. It's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like walking back there now, I recently walked back there and I took some dogs with me because, there's like coyotes. Coyotes are always out there. But the coyotes usually tend to stay away from people. That's, I've never got mauled by one, obviously, so they never really came by us. But now just going out there, you feel like this sense of shift, like something's out there. Something's watching you.
Lurking in the bushes.
Like when I took you out there to that rock that me and my uncle used to go sit on by the apple trees,
mm-hmm.
Tilly was freaking out. Like,
right.
You remember, she was on edge. And she's like an energetic kind of dog. Something was watching us.
Yeah, we seen a lot of paw prints down there, but I wasn't sure if it was from your grandparents or your uncle's dog Axel, or if it was something bigger than that. Because he is a pretty big dog.
And recently, Duke disappeared around that time. Like Duke was a fighter. He used to go out and kill coyotes, and then suddenly Duke just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Something killed him.
Coyotes, I would imagine they try to become a dog's best friend. Like, because you hear stories of, a dog could be fenced in a house and a coyote could get on top of that fence and convince that dog to, do whatever.
Mm.
And if you got a chicken coop, he'll go out and try to attack the chickens or whatnot. But the amount of coyotes I see now coming home from work is just horrendous. And, a coyote, when they do a roll call and one coyote doesn't come back, that coyote will go mate and produce more coyotes. It's nuts.
So something's killing the coyotes.
Well, no. I'm just saying in general, like if a coyote just doesn't come back, they just do a roll call. And if it's missing, she'll just go and heat and mate and produce more. I mean, it's the amount of coyotes. It must be a good year for coyotes, because I remember when I was a kid growing up in Lodi, living on a farm, you heard coyotes nonstop.
Oh yeah.
And that's all I heard was coyotes. And occasionally you might hear something about a wolf out there. You might hear a wolf, but more so coyotes. But
I mean,
poaching though has become a big thing, pretty big lately.
Yeah, didn't you tell me on that land that they found poachers?
Yeah, and there was one in Iowa. They caught the guy by using infrared, and he killed, I don't know, 16 deer, maybe more. And I think 2 of them they couldn't figure out if it was he did or not because they couldn't find the bullet. So he just go out there and just shoot. He doesn't even take it for meat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're gonna shoot, I'm not saying do it, but if you're gonna shoot an animal, make sure it's either attacking you, or if you are able to eat it to survive.
It's kind of ridiculous how people are just going out and poaching or just hunting for sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't I don't like the people that just go out there, kill the deer, and then leave it there,
Yeah.
or they don't intend on eating, because that's what hunting should be about. That's what hunting is about. You hunt to eat it.
Mhm.
It's literally hunting.
Yep.
And like, it's outlandish just to believe that someone will just go out there and kill an animal for no reason.
Yeah.
Just to shoot it. Like,
Right.
at least take it with you. You
Mhm.
can still eat that meat.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty sad. Yeah.
And people will go out there, like, not to make anyone mad, but people will go out there and they shoot baby deer or just young
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
That's kind of rude. Like, that's not really great. Like, why would you do that? Because then that's bringing the population down more.
Even further, because that could have been a potential buck to mate with a female.
Mm-hmm.
I got a friend that does that. He says he's impatient, so if he sees it, he's gonna shoot it. That's like for me, when I go hunting, it doesn't matter if it's bow or gun. I try to not shoot a doe. I want to wait till that buck comes around, and I want to make sure it's a decent sized buck. Now, if it's getting towards the end of the season, the end of the part of that, like for gun, we only get like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets down to the end and I'm coming out empty, I will shoot a doe. But the doe's got to be by herself. She can't have no fawns with her. She can't have another doe with her, because those deer are going to survive and they're going to move together. I want to make sure they're by themselves, shoot it, harvest it, take it home. And now if it's a baby fawn, I can't do that. I always had that fear if a baby is going to walk by and, just let it go, crosses the fence line, and, you got neighbors, they're going to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they're going to shoot that fawn. So I don't want to make noise and be like scare it away, because you're potentially scaring off other predators or other deer that are coming up. But yeah, so there are some people impatient. And I remember telling Zach, if you ever do that, I'll kick your ass if you're with me. But no, he even this year he didn't have the best luck. I don't know if he shot that doe he told me about, but he was walking through a pile of brush and he scared it and jumped out. But
I mean, like you said, if you don't see anything, then I guess shooting a doe is fine. But yeah, if it has any babies with it, if it's, like, if it looks pregnant too, like, that's kind of ridiculous if you'd go and shoot it.
not necessarily they're going to be pregnant around that time, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It'd be more so spring. They're going to have a baby, maybe late midsummer.
I just hope that future hunters, respect those just respect nature in general, because you're going out onto their land. That's where they live.
Yep.
And if you're gonna take one of them, at least don't take too much. Take what you need, so then nature can reproduce itself.
Right.
So the deer population doesn't go down. Because if it goes down, then they'll be extinct. Like, we can't have deer be extinct, and we can't have too many deer. So we still need hunters out there shooting things and killing them, because then there'll be more deer on the roads, and then people will lose their lives because they hit a deer. So it does need to be controlled, but it needs to be controlled in a nicely manner.
Yeah, speaking of control, yeah, you want to control a population of deer, because you get diseases that will form, like CWD, that, like I talked about in the last episode. And I don't know how much you know about CWD. CWD is it's basically, it turns a deer into a zombie. It eats a brain, attacks the nervous system.
Yep.
The deer just become not afraid of humans, and you can tell normally if you see a deer that looks awfully skinny and frail, it more than likely has CWD. So you want to basically shoot it, call the DNR, they take it.
Can CWD transfer to other animals?
I would imagine so, because I don't know about other animals, but I know it spreads to like wild game, the animals that you eat.
Hmm.
I don't know. I gotta look into that more. But I know
Yeah.
it could attack deer, moose, elk,
Yep. And
and
then
it started
it's
off in Colorado. I think it was in Colorado the
yeah.
first case that they found.
And it's dangerous for deer like that to be around because they could get in the way of vehicles
Hmm.
or they could, infect other animals.
Yeah.
And if any that disease popped up, like what else could pop up if the population isn't controlled properly?
Hmm.
Like other things could pop up that could spread to farm animals, that
Yep.
could spread to even us
Oh,
if we
believe it or not,
consume.
a lot of the farm animals are the ones that are spreading it to the wild creatures out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
buy from like what
Yeah, just piss
inbreeding
poor
and
management on your livestock. I mean, that's what I think that CWD came from is from other deer ranchers. You know,
oh
they
yeah, grounding them up.
yeah, grounding them up, and yeah, the stories you hear on that, and
Hmm.
then you get rare, and they send them off to the wild, or you just get the wild come in and start eating off the feed, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, you spread. But like I said, I don't think the CWD is the biggest part of the deer population going down. Then I remember talking to your grandparents about hunting up at their land. They don't see as much as they used to in the cornfield. And I think it was your grandmother who was telling me something about blue tongue. I
Blue
don't,
tongue?
yeah, blue tongue. I don't know what that is. Never heard that
I'm
before.
I'm not sure what that is
So
yet.
I might have to do another episode on blue tongue.
Yeah.
I would imagine probably something turns the tongue blue, something crazy like
Probably.
that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure. Like the generations nowadays,
Mm.
the phones, you got the media, and like I said, I always thought it was pure laziness. I think it's just the motivation's not there either, too. And you hear stories, even including myself now, where people just don't want to work no more because it just feels like you're not working yourself up the ladder.
Yeah, you're not the way life is now is that people my generation and even millennials, they don't want to work because there's nothing to gain. It's
Right.
not like it was back in the in the 80s or whatever where people you had motivation. You
Mhm.
had that ladder to climb.
Yep.
But now there is no ladder.
Well, and also another reason is you're working 40 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I'm all for busting my ass, but if you sit back and you think about after you working at whatever, you're busting your ass, you come home, you realize, like even if you work like a 9 to 5 job or you work early in the morning and you get home. Now, if you work early in the morning, you come home, you're tired as shit.
Mhm.
You don't want to do nothing. You barely got any energy. You just don't want to go out.
Mhm.
Then you just make supper, spend time with your family, go to bed.
Mhm.
Very little time you got. Then you get people that work 9 to 5 jobs. They're getting up at a decent time, but they're getting done later. They're tired. They just drove wherever, and now they just want to maybe get a bite to eat, spend a little time with family, and go straight to bed.
Mhm.
And then you get the people who are third shifters. They're just walking around like goddamn zombies out there.
Yeah.
I've done every shift for mornings, mid, nights. It does suck, and now especially nowadays, did you know Henry Ford is the one that came up with that 40-hour work week?
Yep.
Yeah, is that freaking nuts?
I don't think it was supposed to be permanent.
No, I don't think so either. I think it was
It
just the
wasn't
high
supposed to be
demand
permanent.
on cars that
If
they wanted.
it's crazy how like nowadays my generation, if we're getting out of school, we go to college, get out of college, right? Or we're in the middle of college, or some people don't even go to college, but they leave the house, they have to find a roommate.
Yep.
And not including the things you want to buy, like memberships and a car. If you take all of those out and just think about rent, utility, and just food to survive, and they're buying things that you need to survive, you're barely able to you can't pay for it all yourself.
No, you
You
can't.
can't now. You have to split all that with another person. And it's crazy because back then, people used to be able to do that. Like,
Mhm.
and you're working the 40-hour weeks, you used to be able to save. But
Right.
nowadays, there's a large percent of people that are working paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. Well, it surely doesn't help that this administration has jacked up the freaking inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, you only keep printing off money, you send it to another country. You know, if we have no money, but you send money to a different country where you're forced to print more money. You know,
And the US dollar is becoming
way less than what
less.
it used to be.
Yeah, the US dollar used to be like the prize dollar everywhere.
Yeah, you used to be able to go around and you might see a good deal on something for 99 cents. Now it's $1.99, $2.99.
Hmm.
You know, the penny and the dollar ain't worth anything. And you know, they want to go all digital on stuff, which is a terrible, terrible idea because they go digital, they can see everything you got in your account. You know, I every time someone brings that up, I just have to tell them, save your money, keep bills, pay with bills. You know, get your check, pull money out, keep it in your wallet, keep it in your purse, go buy gas with it, go do that. Just keep that going because it's gonna show that, hey, we're not gonna put up with the shit.
Hmm.
We're gonna keep our currency. I mean, you know, have you seen those videos where a guy gets a ticket for like a parallel parking or like a ticket just because he had his car parked on the wrong side of the road? He comes in and he's pissed off and he has a big freaking water jug of pennies and he drops it down and here's my like $50 fine or whatever. And they say, oh no, you can't do that, but it's legal tender.
Yeah.
It's legal tender.
I
You
think.
have to take it. If you accept it, you have to take it.
Hmm.
I mean, what are you gonna do? You got his address from the ticket book.
Hmm.
Go take it in, cash it in, get the receipt. If he went over, send him a goddamn check in the mail,
Yep.
or call him back because you would have to have his number. Call him back and come get the rest. Now it's just their choice if they want it back, or they're gonna say no, just put it on my tab because I'm gonna end up parking on the wrong side of the road again. You know, I got so many tickets back from doing that alternate parking.
And things going digital isn't good because there's more people that are getting smarter about hacking into stuff.
Oh yeah,
They could hack into, like right now, anyone that's smart enough, they could hack into banks, like bank accounts, and just take people's money away.
oh yeah.
And there are things that are enabled to stop people from doing that, like built into the systems, but those systems fail sometimes.
Yeah.
And if everything goes digital where money isn't even a thing, what's going to happen to those people who live in the countryside
Right,
that don't have access to digital anything?
right.
Like right now where we live, we barely get anything for internet. Like there's spots in this town where you get nothing.
Right.
You get no service, no nothing. I can't even make a call to 911 if I wanted
Well,
to.
well, no, you should be able to because once the phone's charged, it goes through.
Oh, well,
It should.
I wouldn't even be able to make a call. And because there's no service. And so those people that are out in the boondocks, they don't have service. They don't have the ways to deal with digital.
Right.
They only have cash.
Mm-hmm.
Hard cash. And
Oh, like a couple days ago, where I got locked my keys in my truck. You know, I had to get someone out here, and I I thought maybe he had one of those swipers. You swipe your card in on his phone or whatever he has, but he was like, no, cash. I was like, you know, I'm eating my own words here because I always say have cash on you. Always get cash, but I just didn't have it at that time. And I was like, oh shit, who the hell carries cash these days, you know? So luckily our gas station's only up the road and he was willing to follow me up there so I could hit the ATM quick. But yeah, always carry cash on you just to show the government that we're not going to put up with this shit. You can't make this all go digital because, you know, the time is changing. Everything is on platforms and stuff. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
That should be separate from your living.
digital isn't always good.
No, not always. That's for sure. So they just need to leave that shit alone. And you know, and One of the episodes I think it was the last episode I talked to, maybe the one before that, but I talked about how the CDC or whoever the hell it was, they want you to record on the food you grow in your backyard.
Right, yeah.
It's
That's ridiculous.
like, why in the hell? And that's why I think, I made a joke a while back where the deer were noticing that there's just been less deer than normal, and especially when they said they had COVID. I was like, well, the government give them COVID so they die off, so we can't go get our own food.
Mm.
But anyway, well, our dog's awake. Took a little nap, so we're probably gonna go make some dinner. Thank you, Hun, for coming on.
Yep.
Maybe another episode we could do it again.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's what I'm seeing is deer population going down. You got the boomers, or they're getting older. Some dying off. It's sad. So it's a tradition that's dying off, and I would like to, hopefully it never does. So we just need to get more people to pick up a rifle and responsible, take your classes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not scary. As long as you're smart, you follow the rules, everything will be fine. And don't listen to people, oh, guns are bad, blah, blah. For us, we have a gun for protection in the house.
Yep.
We have a rifle, few rifles, and they're all put away. Our kids can't get into them. The ammunition's a different spot, located a different spot, so we have them for protection and for hunting.
Yep.
And that's all it's for. It's not to, go out and do something. No. It's there for protection, and we have the right to bear arms. We have it on a plaque in our office here. I don't know. But then they say, well, you got your voice. Well, if it wasn't for the Second Amendment, you want to have your First Amendment.
Yep.
And the First Amendment is the right for freedom of speech. So
I think mental health needs to be talked about more.
It does, for sure.
It's becoming more prominent. Like, if you look at countries kind of like Japan, where they don't talk about their mental health. Japan is seen as this tech industry, this like, wow, this new thing. Like, they're ahead of their time, but they're not. There's a lot more suicides in Japan. They literally have a forest dedicated to it. And that's awful. And that's because everything's so isolated over there. They don't talk to each other. They see, like, talking about your feelings as like a negative thing. Like, you need to conform. They're a very conformative place where you better be like this or this or this, or you're looked at as different. And that's why a lot of foreigners, when they go over there, if they live there, they are looked at weirdly, because it's not a very inviting kind of country, but it is at the same time for tourists, because Japan relies on tourism. But I think we're starting to kind of descend into that kind of way, because we're not communicating with each other like we used to. We're not as sociable, and mental health isn't being looked at as something like someone breaking their arm. They're like, oh my God, you broke your arm, go to the hospital, right? Mental health is kind of the same thing. If you are dealing with anxiety and depression, you should go to someone who's trained in it and talk about it and figure out what's going on and fix it.
Well, not just talk to a professional, but talk to someone.
Also, have someone you can rely on. And a lot of people aren't having that anymore.
No.
And those people are getting pushed to the side, and then their mental health goes bad, and then they pick up a gun.
Yep.
And those are usually the people that are
they're at their
irresponsible.
breaking point. And I just wish those people, instead of picking up that gun and doing some harm to people, I wish they would have just talked to someone.
It's also the people around them. Like, they have parents, and I don't want to push blame on anyone else with those tragic events, but it's also, we as people need to look at our children and be like, okay, there's something wrong. We need to talk to them. We need to be more of just grow up, or or those aren't things you should say to your children.
Right.
You should really be there for them and talk to them, and us as parents need to learn
Yeah.
how to do that kind of stuff, because personally my emotions aren't in check. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out because I didn't have those people to tell me how to deal with my emotions properly, how to regulate my emotions properly. So us as a society need to actually really crack down on that stuff, because look at back then and look at now. How much gun violence was back then and how much is now?
Very little.
It's because we were more talking to each other. I mean, we weren't emotionally, talking to each other
Yeah.
in a sense, but there was less of it.
Yeah. What I think what they got to start at is stop pushing it on the news and stop sharing it, because I really do believe when someone has a breaking point, it's almost like, oh, okay, I can do better than that, I think they got to take that. Like, if you're going to have it on the news, put it on your television news. Don't put it on social media.
I think
Because
that's
you got to sit back at the end of the night. You got to watch that kind of stuff to be like, shit, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is bad. We all got to work together to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what's put on the news, and you get someone that's, especially if they're sitting down by themselves, and be like, oh, this wouldn't be a problem if guns were banned, or
it would still be a problem. There would still, even if there wasn't guns, there would still be
knives, hammers. The biggest murder weapon of all is actually a hammer.
Yeah, I mean,
A hammer,
everyone
not
can
a gun.
get it.
It's a hammer.
Yeah.
It's easy access. Everyone has a hammer. Not everyone has a gun.
There would still be outlets for that
Mhm.
person. Like, maybe it wouldn't be as many, or people would just learn how to build bombs. Honestly, like, it's just sad. It's really sad that we've had to come to this,
Mhm.
and it all drives from being alone
Right.
and not having that person.
But we also got to figure out where the mental illness is coming from, because it has skyrocketed in the past 10, 15 years.
And if you look at that, when has the internet started to blow up?
In the past 10, 15 years.
It's all because of that.
Yep, I guarantee it too.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to end on this note. Thanks for coming on, hon.
Yeah.
It means a lot. We're just gonna do. We'll have this episode loaded up on Sunday, and we won't see you till the next following Sunday.
Yep.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye bye.